You can start, ma.
Okay. Okay, so good morning, everyone. We have just 100 participants. Are we live now?
Yes, we are live now.
Okay. So good morning, everyone. My name is Salawu, and this is going to be, I think our third meeting or so. So today we're going to be discussing correcting errors. I've discussed this with the accounting students, but I'm going to be taking it all over again because the business admin students I'm just going to bring them up to speed, and then would solve a question and then we'll be done with the class. So please stay with me for the next 1 hour. Thank you. All right. So in discussing errors, the first thing I want you to know is that errors happen. Errors are mistakes, just the same way we know errors in the real life, mistakes that occur. But now when we bring it to accounting, we're talking about mistakes that occur in the accounting process. In the accounting process, I want to believe that we all know the accounting process that starts from the transaction occurring, you recording it in your source document, taking it to the journal, the ledger, the trial balance, and then putting it in the financial statements. I want to believe that up to the point of the trial balance, we know how to do everything up to that point. So when we talk about errors, correcting errors, we usually look at it from the point of view of the trial balance. The trial balance is the first place where we bring summaries of all the accounts in the ledger into to check whether all.
How is this today?
You said what? I can't hear you, madam.
She didn't off her
They
mic.
are noise maker.
She's not talking to you, ma.
They are noise maker.
So we bring all the balances of the accounts in the ledger into the trial balance to check whether we have actually correctly done the recording. We have actually correctly carried out the accounting process, at least up to that point. So if the trial balance is ordinarily meant to have an equal debit and credit total, that is the normal thing. So once the trial balance doesn't have an equal debit and equal credit total, questions arise. What happened? Okay, what happened during the accounting process? So these questions that arise is what leads us to correcting errors. So definitely,
We can't hear you, ma.
So, the someone that joined from the beginning, can you share the topic with us? What topic is she treating?
Correcting errors. That's the topic. Correcting errors.
It's her network. She's trying to join again. Ma, you can continue, ma. I've made you a co-host. Okay.
Ma, you are muted. We can't hear you, ma.
Okay.
She has not started. I think her network is bad.
But she's muted. She's in the class already and she's muted. Madam Ruth, can you help us to clear the coast?
Can you please be patient? Please be patient. Sorry, the lecturer is trying to join again. Our network locked her out. So she's trying to join again, please.
So, my apologies. I was booted out of the meeting. So, okay. So, like I was discussing with you, we're discussing correction of errors because I saw someone drop a message that what are we discussing? So, correction of errors, and I was just trying to explain that when we're talking about errors, we're talking about how what we have recorded through the accounting process, what we have recorded, what we have analyzed, what we have summarized in the trial balance shows us whether there's an error or not. Now, if the trial balance fails to balance, it means this error is disclosed by the trial balance. I want to believe that you can see my screen. You can see that I have an heading that says errors that do not affect the trial balance or errors that are not disclosed by the trial balance. And I have another heading that says errors that affect the trial balance or errors that are disclosed by the trial balance. So once the trial balance shows you that I don't have the same debits and the same credit total, it means that this error or this mistake that has occurred during your recording is one that affects the trial balance, and it is one that is disclosed by the trial balance. Please, can you hear me?
Loud and clear, ma.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, we can.
Please, can you hear me?
Loud and clear, ma. We can hear you, ma.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so when we are talking about errors that are disclosed by the trial balance, let's start from where this error could have occurred. The first thing that could cause an error, you've prepared your books, you've prepared your ledger, you've prepared your journal, you have extracted your trial balance, but the totals are not totaling. What could be wrong? The first point of call is go back to your ledger, check whether there is any ledger that is not correctly balanced. If there's any ledger that is not correctly balanced, it could affect the trial balance. Are we together?
Yes,
So
ma.
that's the first error that could affect the trial balance. The fact that you have computed your balance wrongly. Please, Madam Ruth, admit me. I'm using a phone to join too, so that if I'm booted out of one, I'll still be on. So
Yes, I can hear you. We can hear you,
we
ma.
have. I said, please admit me. I'm using my phone to join too, so that if I'm booted out, I'll still be on. Okay,
And what's
so
the name of the phone you are
if this
using, ma?
yes, I've sent it to you.
Okay, ma.
So if this error is disclosed by the trial balance, it means it's an error that affects the trial balance. So the first thing, like I said, is check that you have correctly totaled the balances, you have correctly computed the balances in the ledger. That's the account balances. The second thing is check your trial balance itself.
Recording in progress.
If your trial balance is not totaled correctly, there's no way you have total debit and total credit to be equal. So you check that. That's another source of error that is disclosed by the trial balance. And then check that all the accounts in the ledger have been correctly taken into the trial balance. So I usually advise my students, once you have prepared your ledger with all your accounts, count the number of accounts that has a balance, and check that you have that number of entries in your trial balance. If it is not equal, there would be an error that will be disclosed by the trial balance. Another form of error we could have is the transposition error. Now you've checked that your trial balance was totaled correctly. The balances in the ledger were correctly computed. The balances in the ledger were all correctly put into the trial balance. The next thing you should look out for is whether there is any incorrect arrangement of digits within the account. For example, we wanted to record 2,500 and you made a mistake of recording 5,200 naira. If you make that mistake in only one side, remember that for accounting, there's always a debit and there's always a credit. If you make that mistake of recording that 5,002 on only one side or only one of the books that is affected by that transaction, that's a transposition error in the digits or in the amount, and then it would not allow your trial balance to balance at the end of the day. We also have the slide error, where you might have omitted some digits in the amount or completely taking out some digits. For example, going back to the example I used, 2005 against 5,002. Yeah, you have 2005, but you make a mistake of recording 250, or you make a mistake of recording 25,000. Remember that for these two errors, this transposition and this slide error, it would affect only one of the digits. Remember, there's a debit digit and there's a credit digit, or should I say there's a debit amount and there's a credit amount. The digits that will be affected is in either the debit amount or the credit amount, and not the two. If it's the two, it's another kind of error. Please, is that clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Good. And then we have the partial reversal of entries. This is simply saying, remember when you are recording into your ledger, you'd be debiting a particular book or some books and crediting some other books for one transaction. Now you go ahead and debit a particular book. A transaction occurs, you debit the book that you're meant to debit. But instead of now crediting the other book, you now still debit that same book. Are we together? So it's like saying you have two debits or two credits. In that case, you have partially reversed the entries. You have changed just one part, not the two. So your trial balance would not balance, and your trial balance would show that, oh, this is, and there's an error here. So it's up to you to now look for that error and make a correction. Are we on the same track, please?
Yes, ma'am.
Good. So these are errors that are disclosed by the trial balance. There's only one person that is talking. I'm not fine with that. These are errors that are disclosed by the trial balance. However, the fact that your trial balance balances does not mean that the trial balance has been correctly recorded. It doesn't mean your ledger has correctly taken note of all the transaction in the business, and you have taken all the ledgers, the account balances of the ledger into the accounts. No, it doesn't work that way. And that is why we have another category of errors. These errors are not disclosed by the trial balance because they do not affect the trial balance. So when you finish preparing your trial balance and you have total debit equals total credit, fine, you could rejoice that, oh, I have the same debit and credit. But sometimes there are some errors there that won't be disclosed by the trial balance. What are these errors? So I just summarized it here. We have the error of omission. A transaction occurs, you do not record it at all. No debit, no credit. It doesn't appear within your books at all. Such transaction, it is not within the books, but it would not be disclosed by the trial balance. It's when you start checking through, you say, oh, I didn't record the sale I made to Lagbaja and Tamedo last week. Oh, let me record it now. I don't know if it has happened to us before. Maybe when we are taking note of the amounts, the monies we spent during the week or during the month, we realize, oh, I have some amount left with me, and start recording. I say, oh, maybe I didn't record so thing. Oh, let me take note of it. So in this case, so far, the 2 or 3 or 4 or whatever number of entries related to the transaction or transactions that were omitted do not appear in the ledger, the trial balance would balance. It would balance. The error would not be disclosed by the trial balance. And then we now have the error of commission. In the error of commission, you need to record a transaction into the wrong account. You're going to record a transaction into the wrong account. However, this wrong account belongs to the same class of accounts as the original account we are meant to record it.
please take notes and listen very well. You are going to record in the error of commission. The error is such that the transaction is recorded into the wrong account. For example, I'm meant to record into cash. No, let me not use cash. I'm meant to record into Bola's account, but I record into Bolu's account. So you have recorded it into the wrong account. However, Bola and Bolu are the same class of accounts because the two are personal accounts. I want to believe you've gone through personal accounts, impersonal accounts, nominal, real accounts, etc. Right? Right? Are we
Yes, ma'am.
together, please?
Yes, ma'am, we are together.
Yes, now we are together.
So,
Yeah.
okay, very good. So in that case, the same class of accounts. So you know that our classification of accounts, the same class. It could be personal accounts. Using the example I used, the same personal account, Bola and Bolu, like the same class of accounts. Or it could be impersonal accounts. For example, expenses account. Maybe you recorded rent into electricity. Are we together?
Yes, ma'am.
So in that case, you've recorded the transaction into the wrong account, but this wrong account belongs to the same class of account of the original account you should have recorded into, of the correct account you should have recorded into. That is error of commission. Then we now have error of principle. It is very similar to the error of commission, but the difference is that this class of account you have recorded into wrongly is different from the class of account of the original or the correct transaction. Let's take an example. You're meant to record into Bola's account. Bola is a personal account, and you went ahead and recorded into car account. Car is an asset. Car is a real account. So Bola and car, they're so far from each other. They're not the same class of accounts. Are we together? So
ma'am.
let's say Bola, you're meant to debit Bola. Maybe Bola is a debtor. You're meant to debit Bola. You went ahead to debit car. Remember that you have recorded on the correct side. So Bola is just going to lose some amount, and car would have an extra amount he or she should the account should not have. So the two accounts, Bola is the correct account, car is the wrong account. So you have recorded into the wrong account, which is car. And then this car now belongs to another class of account, different from Bola's account. Are we together? I think I should edit this to say different class of account, not wrong. So different from the class of account of Bola. Is that clear, please?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. So then we have the error of original entry. Now, in the error of original entry, you're going to be the error occurs such that the wrong amount is recorded for a transaction. Now, this wrong amount that is recorded, remember that transposition error is wrong amount, slide error is wrong amount, but it affects just one side of the book. But in error of original entry, it affects both sides. The wrong amount is recorded, whether you made an error of removing digits, adding digits, changing the order of the digits. This wrong amount is now recorded on both sides. The debit is recorded wrongly, the credit is recorded wrongly. Shoye. Shoye Abikoye.
Oye, ma.
Oye, ma.
So the wrong amount is recorded. In error of original entry, the wrong amount is recorded on the two sides. The debit is wrong, the credit is wrong. When we're talking about transposition and slide, those two, it is on one side. Are we together? So you
Yes,
could,
ma'am.
in the error of original entry, you could have an omission of digits, addition of digits, incorrect arrangement of digits, and so on and so forth. But the fact remains that that error is committed for all the how do I say it? For all the entries for that transaction, all the entries. So it's not as if one entry is correct, one is wrong. All the entries are wrongly recorded. So from there, we move on to the complete reversal of entries. Here, the transaction is recorded in the opposite totally. You mean to debit cash and credit maybe motor vehicles. You go ahead and debit motor vehicles and credit cash. Are we together? You would the error occurs such that the entries for the transaction is completely reversed. So the debit is recorded as a credit, the credit is recorded as a debit for that transaction. So remember, this is different from the partial reversal of entries. In partial reversal of entries, it is only one side that is wrongly recorded, whether the debit nil or the credit. The other side is correctly recorded. So please, those differences should be taken note of. And then the last but not the least, on the errors that do not affect the trial balance, is what we call compensating errors. When we talk about compensating errors, we're saying errors that compensate themselves, errors that cancel out themselves. You've made a number of errors on one side of your books. You've made another number of errors on the other side. These errors are not related. However, the difference is the same, such that by the time you find out your totals, you would not see any difference, because the difference on the debit side, or the errors you have made on the debit side, is equal to the errors you have made on the credit side. Are we together?
Yes, ma'am.
The errors you
Yes,
have made on
ma'am.
the debit side are equal to the errors you have made on the credit side, such that the two side errors cancel out themselves. So this error would not be disclosed by the trial balance until you start taking a deeper look into your books. That's when you see these errors. Are we together?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Beyond understanding errors, our focus is usually how do we correct these errors. In correcting the errors, the first point of call is usually you find out that the trial balance you're giving would have a different debit total and a different credit total. I don't know. I know the accounting students have the question that I want to treat with you. So the
Yes,
total
ma'am.
on
I've sent it to our platform to have
Oh, thank
collected the
you.
question from
Thank you.
them.
Thank you. The
I've
debit
sent it
side
to our
has a
platform.
different total from the credit side. So if this occurs, the first thing you have to do is find out what the difference is. Please listen. Find out what the difference is. So once you find out what the difference is, that difference would be located either on the debit side or the credit side. That difference would be located either on the debit side or the credit side. Then you open an account known as the suspense account. The suspense account is a temporary account that is opened to make corrections to the errors in the trial balance. Are we together? So you open a suspense account. It is just like any other account. It is a T, it has a title, and then you will total at the end of the day. I want to believe you can see what I have on my screen, the suspense account I have on my screen. So the
Yes,
normal
ma'am.
way you open an account is the normal way a suspense account looks like. Now remember that there are two categories of errors. Errors that affect the trial balance would go through the suspense account. Please listen. Errors that affect the trial balance would go through the suspense account. That means you would be making correction to such errors in the suspense account. However, errors that do not affect the trial balance are corrected in the general journal. Errors that affect the trial balance are corrected in the suspense account. And errors that do not affect the trial balance are corrected using the general journal. So I want to put it down so that you would have it. I want to believe we all know what a general journal is. So just the same general journal is what we use to correct errors that do not affect the trial balance. Usually, how do we test it? We test this particular topic by giving you we won't ask you to discover the errors most times, although we could. But most times what we do is we give you the error. We could ask you to identify what sort of error it is. We could ask you to determine how it affects the trial balance. And then we could ask you to correct the error. Are we together, please? Are we together?
Yes,
Yes,
we are here.
ma'am.
Okay. So for the question we have, I think the first question asks that if the two sides of the trial balance agree, does it prove the accuracy of the bookkeeping entries? Yes or no? Is the bookkeeping entries correct because our trial balance, the two sides of it agree? I need an answer.
No, ma'am.
Why?
No, ma.
Why?
The balance look differ.
Sorry, I didn't get you. Mr. Adesanya, I didn't get you.
The balance is not the same.
I didn't get you. Who wants to tell us whether they believe the agreement of the trial balance means there's no error? I said, if the two sides, I want to believe you all have the question. If the two sides of the trial balance agree, does this prove the accuracy of the bookkeeping entries? So the answer is yes or no. And some people have said no. Who are those saying yes? Who are those saying yes? So everybody is saying no.
Yes, ma'am.
Hello? Everybody is saying no. Okay, why? That's the next question. Because the question goes ahead and says, give reasons for your answer. Why? Why?
Good morning, ma.
Yeah, good morning, Madam Favor.
Okay, for me, I think the reason could be that during the recording of both the ledger and the original entries, there must have been a mistake, probably an amount that was written both in the debit side and the credit side. That could have led to the balance being equal. So it doesn't necessarily mean that there was no error during the recording of the books.
Yes, thank you. That's a good one. Any other person? I would love that a man speaks so that we balance it out and move on. Is there any man there that is willing to talk to us? Or we'll just assume that the men understand and then we'll move on. Okay, the men understand. All right. The answer is actually no. And what is the reason? The reason is because there are some errors that are not disclosed by the trial balance. Or there are some errors that do not affect the trial balance. Like Madam Favor told us, if there's an error that has been made on the debit and the credit side together, this error would not show. So you're expected to put down something to say the errors, because there are some errors that do not affect the trial balance, or there are some errors that are not disclosed by the trial balance, including error 1, error 2, error 3, error of omission, error of commission. Give examples and then you move on. That is how to answer the first part. The second part says, Wale is an inexperienced bookkeeper. He drew up a trial balance, and if you see the trial balance, it is drawn haphazardly. And this trial balance now has a debit total that is different from the credit total. So the first thing you are told to do once you move to C is correct that trial balance. Require to draw up a corrected trial balance. That was an assignment for the accounting students. I don't know if they've done it, but business admin students, that is your assignment. So you should debit or credit the residual error to a suspense account. So it's simply telling you. So I'll just show you a part of mine that I've done. You would see that at the end of the day, you can see suspense accounts, difference in brackets. Can we see that? 1174. So by the end of the day, after putting what is meant to be on the debit correctly on the debit, what is meant to be on the credit correctly on the credit, I want to believe once you see a trial balance, you can determine this should go to the debit, this should go to the credit, right? Can we do that on our own? Hello? Hello, class?
Yes, ma.
So,
Yes, ma'am.
No, ma.
of balances that we have, I want to believe you can identify which should go to the debit and why, which should go to the credit and why. Remember, they have told us Wale is inexperienced, so he has done it the way he feels it should be, not following the rules. Okay, so after you must have done that, I expect that you have a difference of 1174. This difference is located on the debit side, meaning that the credit side total was greater than the debit side total. So to make the two sides equal, the debit side had to carry the suspense account. Now you would see that in my suspense account, this difference is going to the debit side. So once you discover the error, the side of the trial balance that has the lower total is the side where the suspense account will be put, and then that is the side of the suspense account where the difference or in the books will be put into. So like you can see, the suspense account has the difference in the books, which is the difference between the debit and the credit on the debit side. Shonye, I think it's Kajiko, the business admin student taught me.
Oyebo.
Onye.
Onyebo, good. So you can see that the difference in the books, that is the difference between the debit total and the credit total, is on the debit side in the trial balance. That difference is taken to the debit side of the suspense account. So if you happen to draw up your own corrected trial balance and the difference happens to fall on the credit side, when you are taking it to the suspense account, you take the difference to the credit side. Are we together, please? Are
Yes,
we
ma.
together? Good.
Yes,
Now that
yes.
we have done that,
Yes,
that's the
ma'am.
first part. That's the first part. We are now told that further investigation shows that the following errors have occurred. And then we are now told to write up the suspense account, correct the errors. Madam Joy, your hand is up.
Okay, Mas. Sorry, I need you to rephrase what you said. When you said that, you said something about if the balance is, yeah, something I didn't get that part. Then when it's on the suspense account, it has to go to the credit side. I didn't get. I'm so sorry. If you can just come again.
Okay. If the difference, remember that the idea behind correcting errors is your trial balance has shown you that there is an error. The debit total is not equal to the credit total. Now, if the debit total is not equal to the credit total, it means one side will be smaller than the other. If the smaller side is the debit side, that means the difference that would be going to the suspense account is on the debit side. So that difference, like in this case, what we have in the example, that difference that is on the debit side, when you are going to the suspense account, when you are drawing up the suspense account, you take that difference to the debit side of the suspense account because the difference occurred or the difference is on the debit side of the trial balance. If, however, the difference occurred, that means the credit side is smaller. If the credit side of the trial balance has a lower balance or has a lower total, that means the difference would have occurred on the credit side of the trial balance. And once you see the difference on the credit side of the trial balance, that means your suspense account, once you open it, I want to believe you can all see this difference in books that I'm highlighting now. That difference in books would go to the credit side instead. So simply put, the part, the side of the trial balance with a lower total is where the difference in the trial balance goes to. Now, this difference in the trial balance is transferred into the suspense account, which is a temporary account that is opened to correct the errors in the books. This difference is now taken to the side of the trial balance where the difference occurred in the suspense account. So if the difference is on the debit side in the trial balance, please take the difference to the debit side of the suspense account. If the difference is on the credit side of the trial balance, take the difference to the credit side of the suspense account. Kajiku.
Yes, ma.
Kanjiko.
Yes,
Yes,
ma. Yes,
ma.
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 Good. 1 minute to go. Oh my. All right, so now we have a list of balances, a list of errors that have occurred, and we are now told to draw up the suspense account. Before we start, I know I started with accounting students. My people, Madam Ruth, do we still have time? I know it is.
Yes, the class ends by 10:45, though we have class by 11. So you can still manage till 10:50.
We
Okay,
have
so
class
what
by
I'll do
we
is
have class 10:45. Business education.
what
Yes, we
we'll do
both
is
have the class by
I'll
11.
run I'll run through the errors that were dictated. We just identify together. I won't explain how to correct the errors for now. I don't know, we could fix an extra class. So we'll run through the errors together. I want to believe you have the question. So it said goods bought for Adiola was posted to his account as 33,000. The first thing you have to do is once you see a particular error, would this error affect the trial balance? Would this error not affect the trial balance? Question 1. Question 2. This error that affects the trial balance, which kind of error is it? This error that did not affect the trial balance, which kind of error is it? Question 2. Lobaton, and then you apply the correction. So I usually tell students, after you have done that, identify the correct thing that you should have done. An error has occurred, but what should you have done? And then make the error equal to what you should have done. So using the first error to illustrate that, they said goods bought from Y Adiola. Before we start reading everything, when this man bought goods from Y Adiola, what was he meant to record? How was it meant to appear in his books? I'm listening.
Please come again with the question.
How should you record goods bought? Normally, goods bought. Now they mentioned the name of the person the goods were bought from. Y Adiola. How do you record goods bought in the books? Normally.
You record it on the
On the
credit side.
debit side.
How do you
Debit
record goods
purchase.
bought?
Purchase.
On the
You
debit
debit
side.
what? Debit purchases. Mhm.
Yes.
So for those that don't really understand, please listen. You debit purchases. You debit purchases and do what?
Credit sales.
No. When you buy goods normally, what should you do? So you people will go back to your double entry. You read your double entry very well because your knowledge of double
You
entry goes
debit,
a long way in helping you to understand this particular topic. You debit what? Debit
you
purchases
you debit
Purchase and
debit
credit the
purchases and
cash.
credit the person's account.
and credit the person's account or credit cash. You credit the person's account if the purchase was made on credit. Are we together? You
Yes.
credit the
Yes,
person's
ma.
account if the purchase was made on credit. But if the purchase was made using cash or using check, you credit the cash or bank account respectively. That is a very good one. However, now, so you're meant to debit purchases and credit cash. In this case, this purchase is a credit purchase because we're told that Adiola, we are told the person we bought the goods from, or the person
Mhm.
Mifeoluwa bought the goods from. It says debit purchases and credit wire Adiola. We're now told the amount is what, please? How much was 13,000? The purchase made was what? 13,000. But they said it had been posted to his account. That is refers to who? That is refers to who?
The purchaser.
That is refers to who?
To
Not the
Adeola's
purchaser.
account.
Adeola's account. Thank you. It was posted to Adeola's account as what? 33,000
33,000.
naira. Are we together?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Now, they did not tell us that it was posted to purchases account, right? But we are told that it was posted to Adeola's account. So it is assumed, once you see that, it is assumed that there was no error in recording the purchases. Please listen. It is assumed that there was no error in recording the purchases part. Because if there's an error, you'll be told the error that was made, there was no error. But there was an error in recording it into Y Adeola's account. Now, ordinarily, we should have credited Adeola with how much?
13,000.
13,000. But we ended up
13,000.
crediting him with what? 33.
33,000.
33,000.
That means the credit side of Adeola's account has been, yes, sir. I thought I heard someone call me. The credit side of Adeola's account has been inflated by how much?
20,000.
By
20,000.
20,000. There's only a few
20,000.
people that are talking. I don't know where others are. The credit side has been inflated by 20,000. Now we must deflate that credit side. Please listen. We must deflate it. We must take out. We usually use understate and overstate. We have overstated the credit side of Y Adeola's account by 20,000 naira. What do we do to take away that 20,000 naira from the credit side? You simply go back to Y Adeola's account and post 20,000 to the what? Debit side. Are we together?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes,
Are we
ma'am.
together? Once you put the
Yes,
20,000
ma'am.
on Y Adeola's account debit side, it will cancel out the
Education.
error that was made on the debit side. Right?
Yes,
Yes,
ma'am.
ma'am.
However, remember that in accounting, for every debit, there must be a corresponding credit.
Credit.
So for this debit we are taking to Y Adeola's account, the corresponding credit will be in the suspense account. Because this suspense account is used to correct errors that affect the trial balance. This error would have affected the trial balance because it was made on one side. Are we together?
Yes, ma'am.
Because the error was made on one side, the incorrect amount was posted to just one side of the books. So we would be debiting Y Adeola and crediting suspense account. I want to believe you all can see on my suspense account 20 for Y Adeola. Highlighted at the moment.
Yes, ma'am.
And that is
20.
how we got to that point. Can you see that? So we have
Yes, ma'am.
corrected the first transaction, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Good. So the second one, furniture was debited to general expense account. Furniture, we bought furniture costing 173,000. What should you have done? Normally, you want to record purchase of furniture. What do you do? Normally. Mo ń gbọ́ o. What should you have done?
And
You will
credit card.
debit furniture account, then credit cash account.
Credit cash account.
You debit furniture and
Credit cash
credit
account, debit furniture account.
or the person you bought it from, if it was on a credit basis. But now we are told that what we should have debited is what? Furniture. What did we debit? Or what did Musa debit instead? Sorry. Musa debited what? Musa
General
debited what?
expense.
General expense
70,000.
general expense account, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Ma'am.
So general expense is the wrong account. Is it the same class of account as furniture?
No, no,
Or
ma'am.
No.
No,
class? So
ma'am.
which type of error is that?
Error of principle.
Error of principle. Thank you.
Principal.
Now we've made an error of principle. Instead of debiting furniture, we went ahead, or the person who recorded the transaction initially went ahead to debit general expense. So it means we have to take out the amount from general expense account, right?
Yes, ma'am.
And put it correctly in furniture
Account.
account. And so how do we do that? You debit furniture, which you should have done initially, right? I want to believe you can see what I did here. You debit
Yes.
furniture and credit
And credit
general
general expense.
expense.
Expenses.
Now, this transaction or this error does not affect the trial balance, so it will not go through the suspense account.
Account.
Are you together? Rather, you
Yes,
just prepare a journal, a general journal, and put it there. Kajiko.
Logical.
Oye.
Kajimana.
So we have
What?
about
Munji.
5 more transactions, 5 more errors to look at. I don't know if I'll be free later this evening.
Ma,
Please,
are we going to have this slide, please?
yes, definitely. I'll crave your indulgence that we meet, but I will not send the assignment solution to you.
No
It's an
problem, ma'am.
assignment, so do it. I'll crave